We can start, finally. Great. Fantastic. Amazing. Positive adjectives. Alright, so welcome everyone to this belated start of the fourth Dutch class. Oh, that's the fourth already. Oh, and I screwed up again by doing this. Yes, the fourth Dutch class. So, some technical difficulties at the start, but now we're running. So, before we start, as you might have already seen in the chat, Marlene posted that she unfortunately won't be joining us anymore. She's too busy with doing 2 programs, and it makes it very hard to also make time to do the Dutch course and prepare, etc., etc. Understandably so. Unfortunate. Possibly from next on, I'll have another co-teacher. From next week on, I'll have another co-teacher, or it will just be me for the rest. I hope you can live with that. If not, alas. But yes, so sadly, Marlene won't be joining us anymore. But the show / the class will go on. And this week's topic is eten, food. Something everyone likes, of course. Well, that's not true, but most people like. And more importantly, like learning about the words for food. So what are we going to do this class? We're going to first, of course, discuss the homework, as you've been used to by now. We'll discuss the woord van de week. We'll go through some word order. We'll tackle word order. That's not just something. You'll get a taste of how to construct a Dutch sentence. Afterwards, this I should have replaced. We're not going to treat the word niet, but we are going to treat question words, how to ask questions. In the word order section, we'll learn how to form a basic question, but those are very boring, just yes or no. And sometimes you want to know more information, so you ask what, when, why, how, or variants upon those, and that's what we'll tackle there. Then we'll tackle modale werkwoorden, modal verbs, modal auxiliary verbs. So verbs like to want, have to, must, those are practically the same thing. Those kinds of things, shall, etc., etc. So words that help you make better sentences. Then we'll have a break, and then we'll teach you how to ask and respond politely, and how to order a drink in a bar / restaurant, which unfortunately you can't do at the moment, but that will hopefully be useful soon again. And then we'll end with the sentence of the week, something which I think I've always skipped until now, but I'll try to do it this time. And we'll possibly have a quiz, depending on the time. And I'll try to be quick about it. And that's one of the unfortunate parts of not having Marlene here. She can't stop me from rambling on. So that's up to you. All right, are you ready? Let us begin with the homework. We will, as usual, only go through half of the questions. And for this one, I hope you all did your homework. They are at the end of the page, as always. We'll do the even ones for this one. So I will do the first one. So the opdracht, de oefening, was to conjugate a regular verb and put it in a sentence. So the first one, fietsen, ik, naar mijn werk. Ik fiets naar mijn werk. I cycle to my job. Okay, so for the second one, could you, Friedrich, could you read out the whole sentence and its translation?
Zij vliegt naar hun vakantiebestemming. she's flying to her vacation destination of vacation.
Yes. I would probably put vliegen here, but otherwise it was perfect.
Oh, yeah.
Zij also, of course, also means she, but as I think I also put in the last quiz, or if it says here, or it could be she flies to their holiday destination. That could be the correct sentence because hun means their, like yeah, they, but then possessive. So that could be she flies to their holiday destination. Um, if she is flying to the holiday destination of, I don't know, her parents or something. But more likely, the zij refers to they here. So zij vliegen instead of zij vliegt. But it could be both, technically. Okay, 3. Hij in Utrecht, maar hij in Amsterdam. Hij woont in Utrecht, maar hij werkt in Amsterdam. So, mind the double O here. The 4th. Gabriella, could you do this one?
Wij pakken de bus als regent. Regent. We, I don't know. Could you help me with the translation?
Yeah, we pakken means to grab or to take. And
Okay.
could you then do the rest, or?
The bus. If it arrives.
Good guess. It means
Okay.
it rains. So we grab the bus if or when it rains. Als could be if or when, indeed. But good try. And you conjugated it correctly, so good job. Wij pakken de bus als het regent. So 5 I will do. Jullie in een mooi huis. Well, the conjugation of a verb in the plural is just the infinitive, so easy. Wonen jullie in een mooi huis. Erik, could you do the 6th one?
Yes, I could. Werkt jij op de universiteit? Are you working at the university?
Yes, indeed. I don't remember if you said the T or not, but it is werk jij op de universiteit? Indeed. Indeed, if you have a question, you leave off the T. I can't remember if you said that, but otherwise correct, and also good translation. Werk jij op de universiteit? Yes. All right. Exercise. The second part of exercise 1, I will just go through because it's not very exciting. You have to conjugate the verb gaan. So first, wij gaan op vakantie naar Frankrijk. We are going on a holiday to France. 2, zij gaat naar haar ouders dit weekend. Here you can do both. But probably you would use gaat. She goes to her parents instead of they go to her parents. Could be both, definitely. This weekend. 3, ik werken morgen. Ik ga werken morgen. Or you would probably more likely say ik ga morgen werken, as we shall soon see why you would do that. And then 4, zij naar de bioscoop samen. So, zij gaan naar de bioscoop samen. Pretty easy. They go to the cinema together. Alright, exercise 2. I'll just ask people again. Kelly, could you do one? Just translation.
Oh, okay. Translate?
Yes.
Okay. Tim cycles home.
Very good.
Oh, okay.
Tim cycles or is cycling home. Perfect. Okay, 2. Sarah.
Yes. Well, in my thing, it is already in English, and I had to translate it, which is on the thing.
Yes, you're totally right.
Ik ga naar mijn ouders met de trein.
Yes, very good. Okay, I just realized indeed that it's the other way around in your booklet. I don't know how this happened, but indeed, then you already see the answer. But very good. Good pronunciation. I'll commend you on that. Indeed. So I go/travel to my parents by train, or indeed. And then the university isn't far. De universiteit is niet ver. So ver is far, and not is niet. Very useful. This I will also just go through by myself because it's not super exciting. It's just de or het, and then the translation, so it's some vocab. I will just click through it and then we can go through it. Oh, whoops. Oh, wrong. Gamara, you said something. Could you say per train? Ah, yes. Met de trein. Maybe I can show that.
No, but it's also possible to say per train, or
Oh,
only
could you
it's
say
correctly
per
to say
train? Oh,
the
yeah.
train.
Okay, so like that. Yes. No, you can't say that.
Okay.
That's not a construction in Dutch. You say met de trein. Sometimes you can make like an continuous with it and then say something like, so with lopen you don't say, or on foot in Dutch you don't say, ik ga naar huis met de voeten. You could say met de benenwagen. That's how people like jokingly refer to that, like the leg car. But you, in that case, you say ik ga lopend with nd at the end. Naar huis, so I'm going home walking. And with some other verbs, you can also do that. For example, if you're going home by plane, you can say ik ga, I guess, vliegend naar huis. I'm going home flying. Sounds a bit weird. Sounds more like you're actually flying. So, okay, just in general, it's with the, and then the noun that you're taking. All right, then here, it's de kroeg, de bar, de koffie, coffee, de pindakaas, peanut butter, de waterfles, the water bottle, het brood, bread, de jas, coat or jacket, de universiteit, university, de ouders, parents, de leraar, teacher, de spijkerbroek, jeans, het cijfer, number, het sinaasappelsap, orange juice, de school, school, de stoel, chair, het biertje, beer, de trap, stairs, de zomer, summer, het gebouw, building, de koe, a cow, het mechanisme, mechanism, and finally het stoplicht and de toonbank. So a couple of these you could know from the rules we taught you, namely de ouders is the parents, so it's plural, so it's always de. De leraar refers to a person, so it's probably de. Biertje ends at a je, so it's an het. Gebouw is a two-syllable word that starts with ge, be, or ver, and it is het. And mechanisme ends on isme, so it's also het. And the rest you had to either look up or know. But it's good to get, I guess, see kind of an overview of a lot of different words and their translation. And some of them will be useful in where we now actually will start with the theme eten. So, het woord van de week is lekker. So try to repeat after me, I can't hear you. But lekker. And lekker means delicious, or nice, or hot, or just like any kind of positive annotation you can think of. So a person can be hot, can be lekker, or some food can be lekker, delicious, or the weather can be lekker, so it's nice weather. There's a lot of different ways people use this word, and the Dutch love the word lekker. They just describe everything as it. It can be used as either an adjective or an adverb. More commonly as an adverb, I would say. So as an adjective, it's just you put it in front of the word and it says something about a noun. So food, het lekkere eten, the delicious food. Or het eten is lekker, the food is delicious. Or you could also say it about people, but yeah, it's a bit rude to say it about the people, that they are lekker. It's a bit more derogative than hot, I would say. If you say someone is hot, that is also a bit like objectifying. But if you say someone is lekker, that is really objectifying because it is usually used for food, right? Which is an object. While hot is more of a measure of temperature. It's a bit more abstract. So you could call people lekker, and if people call you lekker, that is usually a compliment, but I'm not sure if you should be happy with it, I guess. Otherwise, it's also often used as an adverb. I mentioned this because we will talk about adverbs in a bit. Adverbs are things that look like adjectives but don't work on nouns. To say it very broadly, they say something about, for instance, the verb in the sentence. And people use lekker as an adverb a lot. So if I got this chair, sort of, and it's not new, but I got it new, and it's way better than my other chair. So I could say, oh yeah, die stoel zit lekker. The stool sits nicely. It's nice to sit in that chair. Or you have a new pen, and it really writes. Writing with it is really great. You could say, het schrijft lekker. Any kind of thing could be interpreted as lekker if it's just nice enough. Especially the weather. If you can always start a conversation with a Dutch person by just saying lekker weertje, hè? In different tones. If it's nice weather, you can like genuinely say, oh yeah, lekker weertje, hè? It's like, ah, nice weather we're having. And you just mean it. If it's like mediocre weather, as it's like always almost, you say, oh, lekker weertje, hè? Like sarcastically, and people are like, haha, yes, the weather is actually not very nice. Ha, good jokes. Or if it's just awful weather, you could also say, lekker weertje, hè? In a frustrated tone of voice to express your frustration with the weather. I don't have to explain sarcasm to you, I think. But it's a great conversation starter because Dutch people do sure love talking about weather, as do, I guess, most people who live in countries with somewhat fluctuating weather. Getting to fluctuating things, the first topic of today, which we have reached in just under half an hour, wow, is woordvolgorde. You don't have to repeat that because it's not very useful. Word order, literally, word order. Word order in Dutch is a bit different than in English, so it's worth going over in a bit more detail than not at all. What's useful to start with is the basic syntax of how words are laid out in a Dutch sentence, in the most basic kinds of sentences. And that is very similar to English. It is namely subject. First is the subject, then you have a conjugated verb that is conjugated depending on the person and number of the subject. And then you have, or you don't need to, you have an object in a sentence that the noun is acting on. That's a very common form of sentence. So you have a basic one, ik steel de fiets. I steal the bike. So I is the subject, steel is the verb, and de fiets is the object. Very simple. This is the same as in English, right? I steal the bike. Subject, verb, object. Very easy. Well, unfortunately, but also fortunately, most sentences are a bit more complicated than just three things in a relation to each other. For instance, questions. Well, questions aren't more complicated. They're exactly as complicated, but this is an example of how things can shift around. If you want to form a question in Dutch, actually, just as in English, you shift around the conjugated verb and the subject. So you have verb, subject, and then object. steel ik de fiets. You ask yourself after you buy a bike for 30 euros of Marktplaats, am I stealing the bike? And remember, no T voor jij. Steel jij de fiets in plaats van jij steelt de fiets. How this is different from English already, as you notice. In English, for verbs, except I think to be and to do, you need another verb in the sentence in order for it to sound right in the question form. So, steel ik de fiets? You can't say steal I the bike in English. You have to say, am I stealing the bike or do I steal the bike? You need this kind of auxiliary verb, remember that word, to form the question. But in Dutch we don't, fortunately. We just invert them and then Bob's your uncle. Bob is your oom, as we say in Dutch. We don't. So that's a very brief explanation of that. It's not very hard. So I would like you to very briefly look at this exercise. And, well, no, let's not actually, because I just simply realized this exercise might be a bit too easy for you to spend time on, and we have to move on, because otherwise I can't let you do proper exercises. So, instead of practicing, let's just go through it together, and with together I mean me saying it. So here, let's just treat them as examples. Ik heb honger. I am hungry. Heb ik honger? Am I hungry? You see, pretty easy to do. Pieter eet een boterham. The question form would be, eet Pieter een boterham? Does Peter eat a question? Does Peter eat a sandwich? A sandwich in Dutch is boterham, literally translating as butter ham. Why? I have no idea. I guess this was a common thing for people to put on sandwiches in the Netherlands when this word was invented, like butter and ham. But we stuck with it. So, een boterham. It's like a sandwich. You could also say broodje, which is also like a sandwich, but it's, I guess, pretty much the same. It's a broader category than boterham. Broodjes are also things that aren't just a slice or two slices of bread stuck together. 3. Jij komt hier vaker. You come here often. And then the question, kom jij hier vaker? You come here often. Very useful to know. U bent goed in koken. And the question means you, formal, are good at cooking. The question, whoops, that was too fast, is bent u goed in koken? Are you good at cooking? And notice that here with the u, you do keep the t in the question. Kind of annoying to remember, I know, but we'll get there. Or you'll get there. I'm already there. And where I am is at making better questions. So, these segues are getting really great. I know. So, vraagwoorden, question words, or, if you want to be fancy, interrogatives, interrogatives. I never know where the emphasis is, so I just call them question words. This is a lot easier. So, question words are, I don't think I need to recap forming questions for you. I took these slides from another lesson where you might have forgotten, but I literally just said it. So, question words, as you may know, are words you add in front of questions to make them more general than simply having a yes or no answer. Don't worry, I will say what yes or no is in a bit. So, some common question words are, in your booklet you can see, do I have a list here? Yes. Hoe, which means how. Hoeveel, which means how much or how many. Waar, which means where. Waar vandaan, which means where from. Wat, which means what. Notice the difference in W, not what, but wat. Welk or welke, which means which. It has an E or not, depending on whether the word after it is a de word or a het word. We'll get to that in more detail in lesson 7 in how adjectives work. But for now, just remember, welk is for het words and welke is for de words. Usually we'll use welke because if you're asking which, the thing after it is usually a plural, right? Which, I don't know, foods do you like? Then foods is already a plural. And then it's automatically de, so it's welke. Other ones include wat voor, what kind of, wie means who, wanneer means when, and waarom, which means why. So, hoe, hoeveel, waar vandaan, wat, welke, wat voor, wie, wanneer en waarom. I always find it very confusing when learning German myself that wie in German means how and not who. And who kind of looks like whatever. Who kind of looks like how. Who is pronounced as who, which is how in Dutch. See? Confusion. Okay. Hope that didn't confuse you. Just look at this and learn them. But yes. So they just go in front of the sentence. How you exactly turn a normal sentence into a question sentence with a question word is a bit more complicated. It's not as simple as like turning a normal sentence into a basic question sentence, because it kind of changes up what is the subject and what is the object, etc. in a sentence. But in general, if you want to ask someone something, you don't go, oh, I know how to say this just as a statement, and now in my head I will turn it into a question, right? No, that's probably not how you think. You just start thinking about the question. But while you're thinking about how to make a question, it's useful to know a few things about the question words. Some of them have some caveats. So, for instance, they often need another word to add some context. Hoe, for instance, can stand on its own. So, hoe gaat het? It doesn't really need an adjective or something, or a noun. But it can also go with an adjective. So, it doesn't need it, but you can say it. If you just say, hoe duur is die broek? How expensive are those pants? In Dutch, broek is singular, while in English it's plural. So, hoe duur is die broek? If you would say, who is die broek? Then you would just ask, how is that pants, right? You know how question words work in English. Hoeveel always needs a noun, because it's asking for a count on a noun, right? If you leave out the noun, it is implied that you are asking about the cost of something or someone's wealth. So if you would leave out the schoenen here, if you ask hoeveel heb je, it either refers to, I don't know, how much money they have in total, which is kind of, even for Dutch people, a bit direct, or you're just referring to the thing that they just said with leaving it out. Yes, it's usually in the context of how much something costs. Then you ask hoeveel kost het, or hoeveel is het, so how much does it cost or how much is it. Obviously, you know, then you're asking for the price in euros usually. Welke / wat voor dingen leer je bij ESN? This also needs a noun, right? The other ones can usually stand on their own, like wat and wanneer and wie. Those can all take the place of the subject, sort of. Okay. Hope that's clear. Now I will let you do an exercise. So here, exercise 2, vraagwoorden. We have a situation. Sanna is shopping for a new winter coat. And you have to fill in the correct questions that the verkoopster, the saleswoman, is asking Sanne. So Sanne, the first one, Sanne is answering, ik zoek een winterjas. And then the verkoopster asks, wat kan ik voor je doen? So, I will ask you to do this exercise. Yes, please. It's a very brief one, so I'll give you like 5 minutes. Okay, and then we will go back. Please let me know in the chat if you're done. 5 minutes might be a gross overestimation of the amount of time this will take. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask them. Hope you're not all too swamped with exams. I'm glad you could make it. It's also very weird to have, because my camera can't handle a lot of, my PC can't handle a lot of things at the same time. I'm having the presentation and you on another PC, so I'm turning to that, but that's not where my camera is. It's kind of weird to just look at my desktop background while explaining things, if you were wondering.
Yeah, I wondered about that.
Good. 3 people done. Cool.
Can you just explain when do we use welke or velk with the Indian and not with the Indian?
With the E, it is if the noun is a de
Mhm.
word. So if it's de, I'm looking for a noun here, de muis, so de mouse. You are asking about mice, or which mouse are you using? You said welke muis gebruik je? If you're talking about the boekje,
Okay.
this is a het word, het boekje. And then I want to know which booklet you're using. I could ask, welk boekje gebruik je? So no E. Welke muis, welk
Okay.
boekje?
Okay. Okay. Dankjewel.
Geen probleem. Thanks for asking. And there are definitely multiple answers possible by some of these questions, so if you're thinking, well, I don't know, it's probably more than one. Okay, some of you are already done. All right. I think I will just start because you can try to fill in the other ones while I'm asking people to do the third ones. Well, that's already the answers. Haha, I didn't set an animation, or I lost the animation during copying, unfortunately. Then, other Gabriella Gamara Scavone, could you do the first one? Could you just read it?
Yes. Wat kan ik voor you doen?
Do you know what it means?
Yeah, what can I do for you?
Good job. Second one, Afonso.
Welke maat draagt u?
Perfect. Do you know what it means?
Which size do you wear?
Indeed. Sounds maybe a bit awkward. In Dutch, it sounds less awkward, but I still would just say, wat is je maat? What is your size? But, I mean, that is not possible in this question, so you were right. All right, Hayden, could you do 3?
Is it wat voor kleur zoekt u?
Yeah, very good. Or welke kleur, also possible. I think wat voor makes more sense. Welke more sounds like you have a kind of a limited assortment of things and you need to pick one. And wat voor is more broad. And kleuren, I mean, there's quite a lot of colors. So I think wat voor is a better fit. But welke is also perfectly good. So good job. So it means, yeah, which color do you look for? What color are you looking for? What kind of color are you looking for? For Maria.
Wat vindt u this?
Yeah, almost. This is a hard one, so I'm not surprised that this was difficult. If you say wat vindt u deze, that means what do you find this, and that I think it needs to be fun in there to make that make sense. So wat vindt u van deze? What do you think of this? That would make sense. But I would probably put who here. Hoe vindt u deze? How do you find this? How do you like this? Question?
Could you repeat? Because my internet is blocking, so you were lost.
Oh, okay. Yes. No
but
problem.
I listen
Yeah, so
it's wrong, but not why.
okay. Yeah, so if you put what here, that translates to what do you find this? And that would make sense if it had an of in there, or a van in Dutch. So of means of. So what do you think of this? That would make sense. How the sentence is constructed here, it would make more sense, I think, to say, how do you find this? How do you like this? But it is a difficult one. So what is the second best? So good job. And then, maybe could you also do the second part there? Leuk. Oh, I guess not. Then I will do it. So then Sanne answers, leuk is the paskamer. So nice is the changing room. And then you would probably say waar. So nice. Where is the changing room?
Oh, sorry, I missed it.
No problem.
Sorry, because my internet is really
No worries. All right, and then the saleswoman says, daar bij de blouses zit hij. Brian, could you enlighten us?
Is it a waar is it?
I would not put it. Then it says where does it? Yes. No. Okay. This make total sense. Yes. This waar zit hij would probably be correct. Zitten is in Dutch means to sit, but it could also mean how does it fit? So fit. How does it fit? Indeed. You could not know that, but it was a good guess. So indeed, so the fifth sentence is there at the blouses, and then probably some time elapses, and then she asks again, how does it fit? He says, waar zit hij? In Dutch, we can't really refer to it things very well, so we use hij often. And then Sanne answers, fine, prima, nice, good. I'll take this one. All right. So you had some practice with these words. These will come up again in a bit. Before the break, let's first. Okay, here are the answers. Voila. Oh, even I put wat here. Wat vindt u deze? So it's no wonder that it was difficult. All right. Then let us go to more sentence structure. Modal verbs. So modal verbs, they kind of change the mood of the sentence without changing the content too much. Examples are can or be able to, must or have to, may or I'm allowed to. In English, there's a lot of like variations that mean approximately the same thing, but are not always applicable in every situation. Dutch also has that, but that's more in the past tense. In the present tense, they're somewhat straightforward. So they take the place of the conjugated verb in the normal sentence structure that we have, like the subject, verb, object. And then the conjugated verb becomes unconjugated, becomes an infinitive, and they get placed all the way at the end. So here we have an example. Ik heb een biertje. I have a beer. Very straightforward sentence, subject, verb, object. And then, if we want to make it a modal one, we can say ik mag een biertje hebben, for instance. Ik mag een biertje hebben, which means I may or am allowed to have a beer. And so we have subject, verb, these are all the conjugated verbs, object, and then here we have the other verbs, the infinitives. So not very complicated. What is a bit more annoying is that I mentioned that only to have and to be are irregular in the present simple, except and a few other verbs. These are these few other verbs. So kunnen, mogen, and zullen are irregular as well. Not really badly, but they are a bit. So it's worth looking at them in more detail in a bit. But first let's talk about their meaning. That's also useful to know. So here are some more examples in detail. So in a question, you can also do it. So the normal question would be, heb ik een biertje? Do I have a beer? Maybe if you're really far out of it, after having too many beers, you're even wondering whether what you have in your hand is a beer. And then you can say, oh, heb ik een biertje? Huh? Do I have a beer? And to make it a modal sentence, you replace the hebben with a modal verb and conjugate it and then place hebben at the end of the sentence. So, kan ik een biertje hebben? Can I have a beer? Moet ik een biertje hebben? Must I or do I have to have a beer? Wil ik een biertje hebben? Do I want to have a beer? Zal ik een biertje hebben? Shall I or will I have a beer? And then finally, mag ik een biertje hebben again? May I have a beer? That's probably the one you will probably use the most. Mag ik een biertje? Or mag ik een biertje hebben? You can probably often leave out the hebben here if you ask for a beer. Mag ik een biertje is very common. With the other ones you can't really do that. Like, zal ik een biertje? Yes. Important to note, will in English is not translated as wil in Dutch. Those mean different things. It was hard for me when I was learning English and probably annoying for you when you're now learning Dutch. So willen in Dutch means to want, and will in English means zullen. It's probably easier to remember that if you change will to shall, shall looks a lot more like zal, and then it's easier to remember. And will, unfortunately, looks like will, but they mean different things. So let's look at their conjugations. So if kunnen, moeten, mogen, willen, and zullen. So to be able to, or can, must, may, want, and shall. To be very kind of crude. kunnen is indeed a bit irregular. So normally you would chop off the en, and then you have kun with 2 n's, and then get rid of the n. And that's the stem. But no, unfortunately not. It is ik kan. Ik kan. I am able to, or I can. For jij or je, you can say kunt or kan. So jij kunt or jij kan. And jij kunt is not a slur or an insult you're hurling at someone. It's just say you are able to, or jij kan. Those don't really mean different things. They just can be used interchangeably. I would recommend just using kan, because then it's very regular, right? So kan, very easy. And the question, it's kun je or kan je, or kunt u or kan u. That's probably one of the more things. Wow. One of the things that does change a bit. Kunt sounds a bit more formal, so you would probably not say u kan, but you could say that. That's not wrong. You probably say u kunt. It sounds more formal. Hij, zij, het. It's indeed just kan again, and then it's kunnen. Easy. Moet, very regular. Ik moet, jij moet, hij, zij, het moet, wij, jullie, zij moeten. So, of course, you don't add an extra T here, because that's one of the Dutch spelling rules, right? No double consonants at the end, because it doesn't change the pronunciation. And also you don't take away the T, because it's part of the stem. Otherwise it would be moeie, and yeah, that doesn't sound right. Mogen is like, am I allowed to, or may I? Mag is just mag. And mogen. It's pretty easy as far as things go. Wil is pretty regular, except for in here. So, ik wil, jij wilt with a T, but then hij, zij, het wil. It's not hij wilt. I don't know why. It was so close to being regular, and then at the last moment, they just shook things up. Unfortunately. Fortunately, this is all very regular. Just hij, wij, jullie, zij, willen. And finally, zullen, shall or will. Ik zal, jij zult or jij zal, or zul je or zal je. Again, these mean pretty much the same thing. There might be some slight difference in meaning, but it's negligible. And then again, zal. So for ease of memorization, zal. And then it's just wij, jullie, zij, zullen. Pretty doable, right? I think we will have a quick break first, and then we will go on to do exercise 3, where you have to change normal sentences into modal ones. So, good practice. But first, let's have a break until 5 past, okay? Cool. If you have any questions in the meantime,
Okay.
let me know. I didn't even talk about... Is it not in here? This is just me talking to myself, don't worry about it. No, he isn't.
And Thomas, could you show again the answers from exercise 2? Thank you.
Do note that the 4th one is indeed incorrect.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thanks for asking.